Hello, and welcome to the inaugural video of MotoMirth, a channel where I hope to share the joy of motorcycling. My trusty partner in this series will be this 2015 Kawasaki Versys. It was not the LT model, although we've made several modifications to help bring it to that and above. We'll talk about that here momentarily. This is the 2015 ABS model. Has the 649cc parallel twin, that same very famous tried and true Kawasaki engine used in the Versys, in the Ninja, in the Z, and I believe in the Vulcan. The motorcycle had about 4,000 miles on it when I picked it up used a few years ago, and I have been able to put about 9,000, so it's just shy of 13,000 miles on there. And I have loved every mile of it. So we'll talk a little bit about the bike and some of the modifications I've made, and happy to share any more information in the comments if those any viewers are interested. So we'll start with the tires. It came with Dunlop Road Smart 2s, and they were fine, especially as I was just learning and trying out my ability to ride the bike. As I was getting ready to do longer trips and going through rain and needing better traction and just a better durable tire, I did upgrade to Dunlop Road Smart 3s. These ones currently have about 8,000 miles on them, and they're getting a little bit on the worn side. Probably got one more good long trip in them, and then we'll be looking to maybe make some replacements here. The motorcycle, when I first got it, did have a few additions to it, some modifications that came with it. These SW Motech Handguards you can see with the integrated lights, those came with it and they've been working fine. You can see a little scratching there from when I took this thing up in the mountains and took a little spill. They definitely served their purpose there. Likewise, the frame sliders came with it as well, and you can see I put those to use there one time as well. Really only had one spill up in the mountains with these, but they did their job, protected all the rest of the frame and engine. The only other bit that had gotten damaged when I tipped it over on its right side up in the mountains was this rear brake lever was really bent pretty severely, and I had to bend it back enough to where I could get down the mountain, and then that's a replacement brake lever there. As we're looking at things here, you can see that exhaust is not a stock. You can see the brand name there. I did actually install this new Akrapovic exhaust myself. I'm very proud of that. That combined with, under the seat, which I won't take off to show you, is a lithium battery. Those two together really dropped about 14 pounds from the bike, which is nice and a little easier than going on a diet. Has changed the exhaust note just a little bit. Wasn't really going for volume or making it extra loud, but just a little change on the exhaust note. Really was looking for some weight reduction and just a little bit of an extra oomph with the engine. It did have an ECU flash around the exact same time, within a week of each other, just to get it all tuned up and give me a little more out of the engine there. Other modifications we've got on this, I don't know if these were modifications or came standard, but it does have the utility 12-volt charger on there and the gear position indicator. Those may have come as standard. In 2015, I don't know. You can see I've got some Oxford heated grips. Those have been wonderful. Really enjoy those. They help me to prolong the riding season. They've done a great job and help me ride for longer in Colorado, and often even in the summertime, the mornings can be pretty cold, so it's really helpful. And then of course you need something to hold the phone, so we got the RAM mount there. I think that covers most of the modifications I've made to it. I will comment on the battery replacement job. Was curious. You got to be careful with those posts if you're changing out your battery. My post was almost imperceptibly too long, and so my connections were not connecting as they should, and I kept losing power on the road, and that was a real challenge. So if you're having electrical issues, just make sure it wasn't something as simple as the posts on your battery being a bit too long here. One other modification I forgot, we just did this one recently. That's a new chain, and then I re-geared the sprockets. So we had a 15 and 46 is what this comes stock with. And then just recently, this last week, we got this geared a little bit taller at 15 to 44. So just a little taller, just to help decrease some of the buzziness on the freeway. I don't think I'll be taking it quite so much up in the mountains. Although this is, as Kawasaki says, quite the versatile system, and it did do me well in the mountains. I can't gripe too much about the bike. With the 17-inch front wheels, clearly though, it's more of a road biased bike. It doesn't belong too much up on real aggressive off-road kind of terrain. I'd never really taken it on single track, but you know, dirt roads, and there's some difficult mountain roads with rocks and sand and things, and yeah, she held together well and got me through it. Had a really good time, but sometimes being a little bit aggressive up there kind of helped me realize it was really just not the Versys wheelhouse there. Had a couple of issues with it, in addition to the time when I dumped it, which was entirely my fault. Even just from the vibrations, the rear tail light, that turn signal, snapped. The plastic housing of it snapped just from the pure vibrations. I hadn't hit it on anything, but it was so vibrational up there on the mountains that had snapped, and probably had something to do with it. I had already had some problems with my front suspension. Hadn't necessarily made any adjustments to the suspension. Took it up, and it was pretty gnarly in a few places. Bottomed out my front suspension on several locations. Turns out I had blown my fork seal, at least on one side, drained out the oil there, so my suspension was really misbehaving me. Despite that, we were able to get down okay, but clearly had to have all that replaced and rebuilt there. So this Versys is probably going to see a little more road duty, a little less off-road duty here in the future. So that's it. That's my beauty, my Kawasaki Versys 650 2015. I love it. I'm gonna look forward to sharing some rides with you guys here in the future. Just in case anyone's curious about what the 650 Versys with an Akrapovic exhaust sounds like, we'll give you a little taste of that. That's enough of that. The other thing I would mention to you guys is the gearing issue. I'm going through a bit of a transition right now with this. You know, you get in the habit, as you've been riding a bike for a long time, you get in the habit of kind of knowing what gear you're in, the RPMs, what speed you're going. And I found that to be interesting. I feel like I'm going slower than I really am. I look down and realize I'm going quite a bit faster. Just based on the little gearing changes. So as you make changes in your gearing, just be mindful that you got to get used to the new setup, and that may be behaving just a little different than you're used to with the RPMs at different speeds and different gears. All right, guys, have a good day.